What's up, world, and welcome back to the Global Frequency. I'm your host, Nefarious,
And I'm Frequency Girl.
and we are still
Sunburn.
sunburnt and out of town, and a little bit tired from
Very
working
tired.
outside all day long. But that is not going to stop us from bringing you our interview with Carissa Grant, here to tell us all about her creator-owned comic book crowdfunding campaign, Worthy Chaos Redemption, a horror adventure comic series, issues 1 through 4, live on Kickstarter. Carissa, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
We're very glad to have you with us. Now, before we dive into the book, why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself? Like, where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
Well, I was born in Long Island, New York, and
Me too.
really, I lived in Uniondale, right by Nassau
Okay.
Coliseum. Yeah.
Yep, I was Lindenhurst.
Oh, that's what my cousins are. They're all there. They're still there.
Ah,
Lindenhurst. Yeah, we used to go all the time. I probably passed you at some point or other.
Probably.
We're
So I
going to
grew up
have a
there.
couple of internet problems, probably.
Okay.
And then I moved to Connecticut with my family. And now I'm in Tennessee, which is, I've been here for 8 years. It's still a little bit of a culture shock from coming from New York.
But
Some of the phrases and words I still don't get, but at least everyone's really nice anyway.
What
And
was it
I
like
love,
moving from Connecticut and New York to, East Coast to a freedom state like Tennessee? I've had
it's,
friends who were in Connecticut and moved to Tennessee, and they describe it all the time. What's your experience with it?
so the bonus is everything's cheaper. So like
Yep,
when I was in
consensus.
Connecticut, I lived in a little townhouse, 2 bedrooms, small, maybe, 900 square feet or something, with no property whatsoever. And my taxes was somehow 1,200 a year. But I moved here and bought a 2,000 square foot home on an acre of property, and my taxes per year is 900. So
wow.
the taxes are alone are a little better. Um, so there's more opportunities. I don't miss the snow because I've like crashed in every snowstorm I ever drove in.
Oh no.
People here though, if there's like a flurry past the window, they don't leave their home. So at all. They don't. They still talk about the blizzard of 96, I think, or 93, and it was like 6 inches. I'm like, in Connecticut, that's 6 inches is a flurry. Like,
That's a Thursday.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's the blizzard of 2022 last year.
And every
yeah.
year.
When, let me see, before I moved, we had 2 blizzards, 2 storms on Halloween day, twice,
Oh,
2 years in a row. There was the hurricane, the Sandy? I think it's
yep.
Hurricane Sandy. And then
It
I don't know
was.
which one came first. And then we had 4 feet of snow. And the only reason why I focused on the fact that it was Halloween was I felt really bad. There was this house that would do this maze, and he would like count down this Halloween maze for months. And it snowed or hurricane on Halloween both years in a row. I felt so bad for this guy. That's all I ever thought. I don't even know this guy. Never met him. Never actually went to it. But it's all I ever think about. Halloween with that.
So, when you were growing up in New York and Connecticut, what kind of comic books did you like to read?
So I didn't get into comic books until I was a teenager, so the 90s, and it was Ghost Rider. Like I loved
Oh,
Ghost Rider, everything Ghost Rider. I love Spirits of Vengeance. I love Johnny Blaze. I love Danny Ketch was what I started with. And I think I started at like issue 7, so I got in kind of early. But then, Spirits of Vengeance, I love Johnny Blaze. My brother was older and he had the original Johnny Blaze, so he had, that first. But that and on Robin, Dick Grayson as Robin, I those are the only 2 I really read. And then I tried to get into Malibu comics because I thought it would be cool to get in the ground floor. Didn't really go anywhere, but but I remember those. And then I really didn't collect for a while, and I got into role playing, which is where like 17 years ago I started role playing, and I'm dyslexic, so I started as a one-liner. So I would like do one lines for probably about 2 years. Then 2 years I did like para, which is like, I don't know, 200 words, if even. No, probably not even that. And then I did like 200 words. So I kind of built up, and then I was able to do 1,000 words, and now I could do like 6,000 words for like one reply. So I RP'd for 17 years as Claire Redfield from Resident Evil 2. And I got into it because of Resident Evil 2. I absolutely fell in love with the commercial where the crocodile comes out of the sewer for Leon. I don't know why. I literally didn't even own PlayStation 1. I had to go out to get it and rent the game. And then I tried playing it and there was no instructions and Leon just kept walking into the fire and I was like so pissed off. And I like threw the controller. My older brother comes in, starts playing because he's been playing Zelda his whole life. I kicked him out and took it, and then I fell in love with the game. So when I found out about role playing, that's when I was like, oh, I have to be Claire from Resident Evil.
Yeah. So on your Kickstarter bio and also on the campaign page, you talk about struggling with dyslexia and learning to write fiction in a somewhat unorthodox way. You said, when I learned about role-playing with other writers, I instantly chose Resident Evil to write. What does that mean exactly? Because my experience with role-playing is kind of like sitting around a table, rolling dice, that kind of thing. So are you talking about like online forums? What do you mean?
Yeah. So it was online forums. What originally happened is I saw the movie Stay Alive, and when I was researching the true facts about Elizabeth Bathory and all that, MySpace came up. So that's really aging myself there. So they were role playing Stay Alive, and I was like, I know you're not the actor, so who are you? And she's like, oh, we pick a character and we use their picture and we write about them. And I was like, that's legal? Like this, you can use anyone's picture? And they're like, yeah, just pick a character you want and start playing it. And I'm looking around my room and there was a Leon cutout from Resident Evil 4, and I was like, oh, I have to be Claire. So I started it, and it's kind of like writing in blogs. Like you write an action, like, one line, I went and did this, or I attacked this person, or now that I'm Novelaire, it's hard to imagine going back to one-lining, but I loved it. I was very popular because I was the only Claire, and I was around for so long. So yeah, I was quite popular, but it was mostly just writing your actions of what you're doing and all that stuff. So
I remember back in the
Are you gonna date yourself too?
early days of AOL chat rooms where people would have like RP
mail.
rooms. And this was like the days of like they were immediately like preceding
Right?
the
Raiden?
what?
Was that the? Never mind. Keep going.
They were immediately preceding the days of like Muds and Mushes where people were used to like playing RPG games by typing in commands.
Yep.
So it kind of morphed into that and it was more descriptive, and people would do the, portray a character and then interact with each other in rooms like that to role play with each other. So that's
waves.
yes, like that exactly.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. So that's how you started off writing for a character. You started off doing online like role playing. What does Mo Biggs say? He says Neff was bumping the classic internet tracks like I'm a gangsta. Right? We got Baby Bat with us. What is up, Baby Bat? Glad to have you with
AOL
us.
days, haha, I remember those.
Yeah,
days.
we also have
Not like
Will
a baby
with
if
us.
she knows AOL.
So
Mo Biggs is the king of one-liners. It is very true. That is very true. Mo Biggs is.
yeah, he is the king of one-liners. Yes. Although I think Mo could write paragraphs if he wanted to. So in your Kickstarter bio, you also describe Jess Literal as your soul writing bestie and credit them for helping you develop your aptitude as an author. Can you describe your co-writing process and how that helps give Draven a voice so that you can write Seraphina?
Yes. So what happens is I RP'd for 15 years before I found Jessica, and I kept this one role that was Seraphina and he didn't have a name yet, but it was about this angelic weapon that I use. That's the main idea I had from the very beginning. And I held on to this idea for the longest time. And everyone that I RP with always wanted it. But I was like, no, I'm waiting for somebody. Like who? I was like, I don't know. So it was like 15 years later. And the first day I met her, I don't know what it was about her. I don't know the kismet or whatever, but I said, do you want my role? And she says, I don't usually take roles, but yeah, I want it. So I wrote her a 4,000 word starter. And then she wrote back to it, and we've been writing ever since. And so we, in 2 years' time, wrote 11 novels, lengthwise, 11 novels. And now I took those books and I'm converting them into scripts for the comic book. So this series is 3 series technically, and this series is 5 books and technically around 40 issues. And book 1 is 7 issues, so we released 4, and then the next one's June 20th, and then August 8th, and then the end of book 1 will be October, and it'll end on Halloween. The campaign will end on Halloween. So, yeah.
Hopefully there won't be a hurricane
Or a
this year.
blizzard.
Yeah, right. Well, I hope not.
Well, not in Tennessee.
Yeah. So,
Or if there is, then you're probably really in trouble.
yeah, we had a scare like last month where it was the first time we actually got a warning that said the tornado is down your road and will reach you in 12 minutes. And it was like 2 a.m. So I'm like, should I wake up my husband? And I didn't. And it was fine. But I was like, I'll never know.
Do I roll the dice on this one? Do I
Yeah,
get in
I
the
mean,
bathtub?
well, whatever.
Eh.
It's like, do I round up 5 pets and my husband or just wait? So
Or just the pets. No.
That would be priority. So the thing that makes our story a little bit more unique is that when you're reading the story, the 2 characters are completely written by 2 different people. So Jessica writes for Draven. All his thoughts, actions, words, everything is her, and Serafina is me. So whereas you might read a book and there's 20 different characters, they're all the same writer. But in this one, you have 2 different personalities. And you can tell when you're reading it how he's a little bit, I mean, he's a demon descendant and she's an angel descendant. So right there, they're different. But she's more talkative and he more thinks, and he's more short with his answers. And she's like, he's long paragraphs when she's talking. The other thing that's a little more, I wouldn't say unique, but I guess people don't do it as much as they used to, is we have a lot of thought bubbles because we came from a novel. And when you're reading the novel, you can pretty much write all the thoughts you want. And so you kind of you get into the characters' heads when you're reading about it, which especially in like issue 5 when he's struggling to tell her something and he can't do it, and you get to see that struggle, whereas she doesn't know anything about it. So
we get
I
to
like
read that struggle.
Yeah, because the thing I like about movies is, who's a better writer? Jessica, there's no doubt. Jessica's the way better writer. She'll never admit it. She'll say the other way around, but I know for a fact that she is a better writer. The way she writes is how you're supposed to write a novel, the show don't tell thing, and I don't do that. I just write whatever I want to write, and it tells the story. So hers is definitely way better. But I have more ideas. Like, she helps me develop those ideas, but I come up with the craziest ideas. So a lot of the ideas are mine, and they're crazy. So that's how we got 11 books, is by the crazy ideas. And then
so in 2 years you wrote 11 books,
Yeah.
co-writing together.
Co-writer,
where you
yep.
would write Serafina and then she would write Draven.
Yeah.
But there's got to be a plot that's moving the story forward.
yeah.
So there has to be kind of like an omniscient narrator between the 2 of you deciding where the story is going to go, how the world responds to your actions. How do you determine that part?
That's pretty much me. So what it is I'll write a chapter of everything that happens. She's, for example, for our issue 6, they go to a vampire. They go to hunt vampires. And so I write that they go to the vampires, and what she does, she's looking in the window, she's boarding up the wall, doors or whatever. And then I write how she goes in, she has a conversation with them, she, sets the place on fire. So everything that happens is what I write in Serafina's perspective. And then she comes in and writes from the start that I did and writes it how Draven saw it. So everything that Draven saw while she was doing what she was doing, even though he's right next to her, she writes all the thoughts that he's having while she's doing this. She writes the speech that he's talking and responding to what she says. And then he does, what he's going to do. So you pretty much, if you read the novels, which you can't, it's not for release, but if you read the novels, it would be 2 chapters in 2 different perspectives.
Oh,
so
interesting.
I move the
So
story
you would
forward.
read her perspective, and then the next chapter would be his perspective on the same thing.
Yeah.
So is there any way for Jess to influence the series of events? Like, if you write what Serafina does, she goes in, she talks to the vampires. Draven couldn't then decide, instead of talking to the vampires, I'm going to set them on fire.
No, he
Like,
can't. He can't change. But if there was something he wanted to do, we would talk about it, like ahead of time a little bit. Like if something, we don't really talk about what's going to happen. I just write it out.
Right, it's more like
But
role playing.
yeah, but sometimes I'll be like, listen, do you mind if I have him do this while I'm doing this real quick, or we'll have him, kidnapped, by the chick vampire for a little bit, and she'll write from that perspective when she comes in. So there is some discussion of how we go about it. Now, she sometimes writes after where I ended. So if she wants to go a little further and do something, like I ended with Seraphina getting shot, and Draven catches her, she can then write whatever she does and then gets them out of there if she wants to. So sometimes she'll write a little bit further into the story, and then I will respond to that and then continue on to the story.
So, how has working in the visual medium of comics helped you tell these stories? If you've written like 11 novels, why translate them into comics? There's got to be something specific to the medium, right?
Well, one, we had gotten an editor to see if what we wrote could be something we release, and they said you would have to pretty much get rid of half of it and merge the two, which we refused to compromise on our story. So we said we'd rather make no money on this whatsoever and then just print it for ourselves. And then when I went to go make a cover for us, like I was going to hire someone for Fiverr just to make a cover for us to print from like lulus.com or something. I had said to her, these are really cartoony artists. Do you want me to find someone more realistic? And she's like, no, cartoony's fine. So I was like, well, if you don't mind cartoony, what if we made a comic book? And she's like, okay. So I pretty much jumped into it because more than anything, I would love to see my characters, playing out the story. Like my dream would be, like I've been asked before, do I want a movie or a show or something? I would want an rated R animated series. Like that would be like, I want to see my characters playing out. If I have to learn animation myself one day, I'm going to find a way to animate this series, but.
Yeah, if you do a movie or something, you could do voiceover narration with like internal dialogue, right?
Vic says if you publish a novel, you lose the opportunity to present.
That's what I was responding
I
to.
know.
So
Mobix likes it when we read it out loud.
okay, so this editor, was that Lori or was it what's his name?
Oh, that's my
The
brother.
other guy.
No, this
John
was
John Miniello.
yeah, that's my older brother. He just wants his name in comics.
Gotcha.
But no, this is before originally, and she was a horrible editor. Because we were having her just check it, and she would do the stupidest things like replace all, and then it would replace all without saying the whole word. It would mess up everything. So no, it was an editor we found on Fiverr or Upwork or something, and she was awful. So no, but I'm the one that's converting the scripts, and because the way I write, how I write the story, pretty much how I see it as I go, it translated perfectly into a comic book. They already wrote what she does and how she does it. I will say my first script, when I went to bed that night thinking I already hired an artist, and I was like, I don't know how to do a script. So I learned the next day.
I was going to ask you, how did you learn to write
Yeah,
comics instead?
I was texting her at night saying, I just hired this person. I don't know how to do a script. She's like, you'll figure it out. So I went and watched YouTube videos. And I was like, all right, let me try this. And then I wrote a script, and I talked to the letterer, and the letterer is like, did you want to see any of the artwork, or did you just want script? And did you just want dialogue? And I was like, oh. So my first script turned into 2 scripts. So I actually had 2 issues because I had to expand the panels to add more the dialogue. So I learned the hard way how to learn about the dialogue and how much to use and how much not to use.
Right, and you had to learn about panel structure and transitions and that kind of stuff. Did you, other than looking at YouTube videos, were there any books on comics or comic book primers or anything like that you took to try and get your bearings?
Nope. I just,
totally self-taught.
Yeah. I was just like, oh, okay, this person does this, and this person does this. When my first artist did not work out. They actually stole like $3,000 from me.
I was just telling Mo that I was gonna
fantastic.
read his comment in a second. Yeah. Sorry, replace all would be my first company-wide memo as chief editor of
That'd be great.
Yeah, that was
That's the next
awful.
question.
It was the stupidest thing. Like you'd be reading a sentence and like it makes absolutely no sense because it inserted these words into a larger word. It was just really bad. Um, but yeah, so I lost my train of thought when I was saying
Sorry.
something. No, that's okay.
I did
um, but for the script, my first artist failed and I lost 3,000. Well, technically 5,000 through that because it completely failed. But then I found my new artist and we butt heads in the beginning because I was used to just giving the other artist my script and they would just do the panels that I said, you know. This artist wanted to, and rightly so, I just didn't understand it. He wanted to do action scenes and movement, and I'm like, I don't know what you're doing, and you know, we butt heads a lot. And then finally, I was like, listen, I'll lower my panels from 5 to 6 to 3 to 4, and then you do the panels you want. So that's pretty much what we do. I do 3 to 4 panels, and then he can turn them either the 3 to 4, or he can turn them into like 8. So he does kind of
So
his
do you
own
write
thing.
with the panels that you compose? Are you writing for beats? Like each panel is kind of like a part of the story, right? It's like a frame, let's say, of a movie. It encapsulates a moment, but the book, like if it's 28 pages, that's the real estate that you have to tell a story. So you're devoting page space to a beat within the narrative. How do you pick how many beats per page, and are you playing with any sort of time or tempo when you write?
Pretty much, I pretty much picture each movement in my head on what they have to do to complete this one. So when I'm converting the story, I'll take the novel and pretty much, what is it?
It says, Neff, you're trying to make order out of worthy chaos. It's
Right?
a great way of
Yes, it's
saying it. Go
chaotic.
ahead.
I don't know what to tell you. But so normally one issue is about 10,000 words from the story, and our stories are between 90,000 and 130,000 words. So pretty much I pick where I want each issue to end, and then I kind of work it out from there. And sometimes it works out, and sometimes it doesn't. So our you'll notice if you ever read them that the pages fluctuate. So one will be 28 and one will be 32, and then I think issue 6 is 36 and like issue 7 is like 40 because it just is just I don't want to take anything out of the story and I don't want to miss anything, so and I don't want to rush anything, so pretty much I just
Right.
kind of figure out the movement that it takes to do it. I don't figure out. Sometimes I figure out per page, like if a new scene comes, you know, I'll make it on the next page, but generally I just try to move with it, you know, the movement.
Right. So Mo Biggs brought it up, and I'm going to follow up on it. Your comic book imprint is called Worthy Chaos Comics, and the series is called Worthy Chaos Redemption. So clearly, chaos and worthiness are both somehow significant here.
Yeah.
What inspired the name? Is there a story behind it?
So the name Worthy Chaos is actually her because she's an angel descendant and everything evil is attracted to her or is after her for the weapon. So she attracts everything and causes complete chaos all the time, nonstop. So she always feels like a burden to Draven. And Draven doesn't care because they're soulmates and he would do anything for her. So every time she feels like a burden, he'll say, "You're worth it." So to him, she's the worthy chaos. As for the redemption, there's 3 series we have written. There's redemption, there's salvation, and then there's damnation. Redemption is pretty much the way the story is written is they lose 10 years. You know, it starts out surprisingly chaotic, and you know, they're about to run away with each other, and her brother finds out and becomes possessed by a demon and kills her parents. And she calls Draven up to say, "Don't come here because my brother's trying to kill me." So of course the first thing he does is go there. She jumps out the back window completely like wounded and everything. He goes through the front door, yells for her. She turns around and gets hit by a car, and he slips on her blood and gets arrested for the murder. So she's taken to another city in a hospital and is in a coma for months, and he's taken to jail and then later taken into the military. So for 10 years, they thought each other was dead. She trained as a supernatural hunter to get revenge on her brother, and he trained as an assassin to work in the military. So when they meet up.
Okay. Yes, I get the chaos part. You're going to have to back it up for me. So The two of them are teenagers.
Yeah.
They're in love. Her brother goes and gets possessed by a demon. She calls up Draven and says, "My brother's possessed by a demon." How does she know?
She doesn't. She says, "My brother
So
killed
he's
my
just going
parents."
crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
She,
So
she
then
said,
Draven shows up and she gets hit by a car. He sees her get hit by a car,
No,
so
he
he
doesn't see it.
thinks, "Oh, okay."
He
So he
actually
just
thinks that she was murdered in the house.
gotcha. Now he's arrested for the murder, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's
Now he's
actually
arrested.
he's framed for it, pretty much.
Well, yeah, obviously he didn't kill anybody. But if he's framed for the murder, that would be the murder of the mother and father, right?
Well, they think that she was killed because both the brother and her bodies aren't there, but there was so much blood and body parts that they didn't even bother to count them or look at them or whatever.
So he was put into prison for like a double homicide, but like I guess a quadruple homicide. I guess the cops like knew that it was a family and that had maybe pictures on the wall or like the registered residence.
Well,
address.
the main villain, there's three major villains in this. There's Draven's father, who's a demon. There's her father, that's an angel, and there's a human who's actually worse than both of them, and that would be Davies. And he's the one that kind of told the cops he did it. I saw him do it. You know, he walks in and says, "Oh, that's the guy," and that he's the one that planned.
How does he factor into this?
A lot.
But how?
He's manipulating all the strings because he knows that he's a demon descendant and he wants to use him as an assassin because he knows the power that he possesses. So it's a deal that he kind of makes. So it plays into a lot that the main story is this guy, Davies, that experiments with their blood and he does all these different things with them. He's kind of the Resident Evil of the story where he just likes to experiment to make monsters and stuff.
So he's Wesker or whatever. Is that Resident Evil?
That is Resident Evil, yeah.
It is? Okay.
Yeah. He, a little bit. He's more like well, Wesker didn't really do the experiments. He was kind of the bad guy, but not the experimenter. But yeah, he's part of Umbrella, you can say. He owns the Umbrella Corporation that did all the experiments. He's the one that creates the zombies in book 3.
So you're a student of world religions and a fan of the show Lucifer, obviously, seeing as how you have a cameo from Mark Pellegrino on the page.
That would be
what got you into fallen angels and biblical apocrypha?
They always fascinated me. All the religions fascinated me. I studied Egyptian, I studied Celtic and Greek and Christianity. And I don't know if you've ever watched the show Supernatural, but there was one thing that they did that I love the show. I've seen the show. I've met everyone. I've gone on cruises with the actors. I love them all. But with the their story in their show, they would just pick names and then just call their demon that. Like their demons or whatever or angels had nothing to do with their jobs or personalities, except for like a rare few. Like Michael really was the sword, and Lucifer really was the fallen. You know, all that. But generally, I mean, Castiel is a real angel, and he, was not that kind of angel. So all of our angels have their personalities are something that we gave them, but their duties and jobs and powers all came from scripture or myths or whatever you want to call them.
So who are the demons and angels in the story that you're utilizing?
So the main ones are her father is Remnal, and he is the judgment of souls, and he's actually what started the whole idea for me. For whatever reason, I read about this guy. He judges souls on earth and carries them to heaven. And I don't know why my brain's like, how does he carry them in his pocket? So I created this weapon and he carries them in this weapon. And now when they're contained inside this vessel, it has the power of souls in it. So Draven's father, Asmin, he is a chaos demon. And, he tries to get those souls out because he devours souls in mythology. So they battled it out for like the longest time. And it just coincidentally, because they really have nothing to do with each other in scripture, coincidentally, or lucky for us, Remnal's weapons are sword and lightning, and Asmin just happens to be immune to both magical and natural lightning. So it was kind of made them a good duality kind of thing. And so
how are you drawing on like religious iconography in the series?
So Remnal, who was the judgment of souls and all that, he actually fell in love with a human in mythology, and he created Nephilim, which is a sin, And that's what he did in our story. He fell in love with a Greek goddess in ours, and they couldn't have kids because angels can't have kids. So he used the power of souls from the weapon to create Seraphina so they can have a family. However, once that happened, something happened to the wife, and now he needs that weapon back, but he can't get it back. So Asmund tried to kill Seraphina multiple times, and she just gets reincarnated. So he created Draven to go after it and get it from her, and they fell in love, and then they were soulmates. So it created a prophecy that was whenever an angel and a demon fall in love, they cannot be separated or there will be war through heaven and hell. And that's kind of the aspect of the story where they fake this prophecy, and they had a guardian angel. Now their guardian angel is Camiel, which in scripture is the angel of true love. So he was sent to protect them and keep them safe, and he would keep them in this cabin where they lived. They didn't know he existed, but he would just spell it so no one can find them. So the only way to get to them was through him. So they tricked him, faked a prophecy to tell him they had to be separated. So it started this whole thing. So
Now you say they get like their soulmates and they get reincarnated, right?
Mm-hmm.
So have they died before?
That is what the prequel is. They pretty much die in each like every 100 years or so. They don't have any memories of their past life. They just feel very compelled to be with each other, and they wind up finding each other through circumstances.
So how far back does this go? Does this go back to like the beginning?
It goes back. I mean, I think we had medieval times and Vikings, and yeah, we have all these different eras of how far back it goes. But in this story, Redemption and the prequel that we've written so far, it's only this life so far. But we're gonna actually write back to where they actually started the feud, and before Seraphina was even created. So we're gonna write all the way back to that.
So the depiction of like angels and demons, with Draven being a human descendant of demons. Are demons in your story always evil and chaotic, and angels are always, dedicated to, I guess, like the will of God? How are you situated? Like, do Milton and Dante influence your metaphysical depiction of them? Is it mostly scripture? Are you drawing heavily on the Book of Enoch for Remiel? Like, how are you establishing the metaphysics of this world?
So for Remnal in scripture portrayed God to have, because he fell in love with the human. So we kind of did that where he sinned, and he's no longer a full-fledged angel. He's still an angel with powers, but he's not full-fledged because he did betray God, and he did fall in love and get a wife and did what he wasn't supposed to do. Now, our angels and demons are not always good or always bad. And in fact, some of the demons, depending on which story you're reading, the spin-off or this one, they actually do side and go back and forth. And sometimes side with our guys and sometimes doesn't. Like, so Anubis is in this story, and he's being controlled by Remnal. And if you there's hints to it, and they tell you in issue 7, but there's hints to it. There's a remote control on his belt that has runes for Anubis. So he's controlling Anubis to go after Seraphina. But obviously he didn't do that in scripture. He was, just the controller, just was, the god of the underworld. So we use his powers. He can go through portals. He can control the dead, and he does all that stuff. But he does kind of start to get a personality the longer he's there. Like he starts to feel guilty about Seraphina. He doesn't want to hurt her, and one of the hellhounds falls in love with him and follows him around like a puppy. I mean, it's a lot of these little nuances that happen that obviously were not in scripture. So pretty much it's pretty chaotic. But
wasn't kidding about the chaos.
Well, issue 1 is, or book 1 is, they're in different environments. So in book 1, they're in a town merging with hell. So she walks into the town. It's set up by the demons and angels to trap them in there. And you start to see the merging happen, and hellhounds come out, zombie mermen come out, ghosts, zombies, Anubis, and all this stuff. In book 2, they're trapped in a haunted asylum where they can't get out because the ghosts have all trapped it, and they're trying to get out of that. In book 3, they're in a town like Resident Evil or city, which they can't get out. They're completely trapped in there, and they run in with other survivors, and they have to get through this zombie apocalyptic world. So
that's kind of like where the Silent Hill element comes in.
Silent Hill would be book 1. the whole
Okay.
you could see that if you look at the little details, there's a crack behind her as she's walking, and then later the entire roads are gone, just like in Silent
Oh,
Hill.
okay.
So you can kind of see how they're trapped there.
Right.
So
Let's
Silent
look at
Hill.
the campaign page.
Silent Hill scared the crap out of me. When I was
It was only the radio.
No, it was Silent
bit-
Hill 2. It was the double-ended mannequins that were like sewn legs to legs that like
Yes.
they freaked
Yeah.
me out.
I did not like the demon babies.
Yeah, no, the demon babies were also really, really bad.
So bring in the campaign page. Should we watch the trailer?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, let's take a look at.
It actually gives you a pretty good summary of
What's happened
the
so
last
far.
3 stories.
All right.
Hi, Dean.
What's up, Dean?
All right, I'm gonna make it full screen.
I'm going to mute everybody.
Yeah. All right, here we go. Watching the trailer. Unmute this.
Frequency Girl is a failure.
Hold on, I don't know why. I shared it with music. I don't understand what's happening. Hold on.
Music is actually from a song that we actually wrote. Well, I didn't write it, but we hired someone to write and perform. And so all the lyrics, there's no lyrics in this, but you can get the song as an add-on for $5 as a download. So the music is ours. It's not copyrighted. We had it created.
Frequency
Yeah,
Girl
it
cannot
just
figure
isn't-
out why there is no audio for the music. So she doesn't know what's going on.
Oh,
I don't understand.
okay.
Well, now you removed the.
Yeah, but I'm trying to add it back in. There's no more.
This is what happens when we're not in our studio.
Sorry.
we're.
No, it's not. It's not you. It should
I'm not pushing
just
buttons, man.
have music. Hold
Music.
on. You know what?
Yeah. You're gonna put it into one browser.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna
All right.
not do your. It's all because you told me to do it differently. It's
Blame me. All
Neff
right.
do a beatbox and let FG rap the on-screen notations.
Oh, Yeah, that's
That would
a
be-
winner right
That would
there.
be funny.
All right,
Sorry.
just-
Hold on. Keep talking and I will. Okay, I closed it accidentally.
all
so I
right.
have
So you have to
reopen
bring it back up, and
Yes.
now you have to find the
Here we go.
recently closed tab for the
Yes.
campaign
I have
page
80
that you need to.
bazillion
Yeah.
tabs. There we go.
Have you ever seen that on your phone? You have so many tabs. It doesn't have a number.
It's a
It just has a
smiley
smiley face.
I had 240 tabs opened on my phone that I didn't realize that I was like, oh, shut them all.
Yeah.
No, I never shut
I'm
any of them.
adding to the stream. We're ready. Play the
Okay.
video.
Yes, see now for some reason now it has.
Okay. All
Okay,
right. I'm muting everybody again. That's friggin' badass, man. That was a great trailer. So that song was composed for you, and it has lyrics.
Yeah, so on the Kickstarter page, it actually shows you the lyrics, and as an add-on
Which I
for
have
$5, you get both the instrumental and the vocal
Hold on, I
version.
got it. There you go. So do you want to try and sing the song for us?
I do not.
Okay. Just checking. So who designed the campaign page and who wrote the copy?
I do everything for everything.
Okay, so you did everything for everything. And the first thing that we see when we go to the campaign page is, if you scroll, because you're not doing the thing that I want you to do, but that's okay. We see the awesome cover art that was done by
Yes, this one.
DC artist Ken Hunt.
Yeah.
So that's the variant cover.
Yeah, he worked on Batman, Harley Quinn for decades, all those great big titles. And then it was colored by the current colorist for Lady Death Universe, CC Dela Cruz. And they did a great job. And they're also working on my graphic novel cover as well for October.
Oh, so there's a separate graphic novel for this, or is it a
The
different
separate,
series?
the graphic novel will be the 7 issues together.
Oh, okay. So
The trade compilation.
right. So the next one is coming out in June, and then all the way through October, and
And-
then
yeah.
the graphic novel comes out. Awesome. So then we see this 2 other covers and the disclaimer.
The cover you just scrolled through, the last one was our interior artist. So that is
Okay.
my artist.
That's
that
the
one.
interior art. And then we have a selection of interior pages, right? So tell us what's going on in these pages. Is this from this campaign? Is this from book 4?
So this is from issue 4, and the issue starts off with them fighting in a bar, and they win because they kick ass. But it's supposed to symbolize the fact that at the end of the issue, they get their ass kicked by vampires to show you that they are stronger and they can fight, and they still can't even compare to the vampires. And we have a different
Gotcha.
version of vampires as well.
It looks like Sarah got roofied.
Yeah, she did.
So one of the humans roofied her drink, and
Yeah,
Draven.
Draven's ex-assassin partner is the one that roofied her.
Why would he roofie her? Like, what's going on here? What's the setup?
So you obviously have to read it because it's issue 4. But there's a hit on her from Draven's boss. So his partner is messing with
Is
her.
that Davies?
Davies, yeah.
It's the guy that set Draven up in the first place to pull him into the military to turn him into an assassin. All right.
Yep.
So then these guys roll up on Draven, and it appears like they're there to beat them up or kill them.
Yeah, they're from inside the bar, and they're just there to get back at them.
So I guess there was like some sort of altercation in the bar. And
Yeah, they were hitting on her, and then they were assholes, and then one of them actually tried to attack her in the bathroom while she was weak from the roofie, and then Draven saw and beat the hell out of them, and then they tried to leave, and then they decided they didn't want them to leave. So
Right. So the assassin former partner that roofied Sarah, did he send these guys, or are these
No.
completely unrelated thugs that are now just going to go and
Unrelated.
mess up our heroes? Okay. And so then there's this cool fight that you do.
yep.
Now you're doing all the dialogue yourself that comes out of Sarah's mouth,
Yes.
and Jess is doing all the dialogue that comes out of Draven's mouth.
Correct.
Okay.
And then that's their father. So this is like an end page to just kind of, because stuff is happening that people won't understand till they get to issue 7.
Stupid demon.
Someone said it should be Foolish Demon, but it's not. It's just I thought about it and it just didn't fit because he does not talk like that. But so that's Draven's father, and the angel is her father. And that one in the fancy coat right there is their guardian angel, who thinks that he's doing the right thing by trying to track them down. And there's Anubis playing Fetch with a Hellhound without him realizing he's playing Fetch with a Hellhound.
Gotcha. And then there's Lucifer.
Yep.
because you're a fan of Lucifer, the show.
No, it's from Supernatural.
Supernatural.
Oh, it's from. Oh, okay. Wasn't he also Lucifer? Or
He was
am I
Lucifer in
making that up?
Supernatural.
Yeah. Okay.
I
Then
did
we
like
go
the show
right
Lucifer,
into
too.
the swag, right?
Yeah.
So we've
There's a lot.
got your company logo as a sticker. We've
Yep.
got the Anubis sticker, a larger version of your logo, the little chibi Anubis, which is adorable.
Yeah.
And
This
a
is
button.
that's the variant from issue 2, and it was done by Ian Chase Nichols that did the art for the Tick and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So you can actually get the variant as an add-on too if you want. Then there's
Cool. And then we've got glossy prints and we've
Trading
got
cards.
trading cards.
Yeah.
Now, were these from previous campaigns or is this just all new stuff?
These are all new. I think the only thing that's from the old one is the logo stickers. These are all new.
Gotcha. So you did new trading cards, you did new prints. You made a button out of the old cover, but you did new stickers as well. This is a lot of stuff to make for one campaign because we're not even really into the all of it. You've got this really awesome Anubis cover that you turned into a bookmark.
Yeah, there's a bookmark and there's also a metal print above that. So the bookmark and the print above it is both metal, which I never did a metal print before. And it's so freaking shiny. There is a video there that people want to watch it because it's super shiny, but it doesn't really give the justice. And there's our wooden print. It's laser.
Yeah, why do a metal print when you've got a wooden print, right?
Because it's shiny. Both are pretty much sold out. I think there's one wooden one left and one metal one left.
And are these also available as add-ons?
I think so. If they're not sold out, I'm not sure.
Right.
But
And
I think
so then
usually
there
add-ons.
is
That's the 3D print.
bust, right?
Yeah,
the 3D print, and then there's the 3D miniature.
It's an RPG tabletop miniature, and it's 3D resin. The other one's the regular 3D. And then we have pillows.
And then you've got pillows, and all of these are also available as add-ons.
Yep. I think the chibi one is anyway. I think the rest are sold out. And then there's the one that I'm holding. It's the
plushie.
Yeah, they're handmade plushies. Yeah.
You want to show us?
Sure.
Oh, look at him. He's adorable.
He has they all have their own little staff that he holds on to.
Now that's not the weapon, right? The weapon's the
No, this is his weapon.
Thing.
The logo is the weapon.
Right.
Yep.
All right. So no buttons. Then you have a clay statue, a clay figure.
Handmade statues. There's 3 of them. Yeah.
Oh wow! And then you've got the 2 of them together.
And then those are all sold out. But yeah, we have the tall Anubis.
You got some really dedicated fans. All right. So then we get into the story, right? Mm-hmm. Which is the pitch. We've been talking about it for a while. What?
I was laughing at Mobix. Why wouldn't you do a metal print?
Why wouldn't? Yeah.
Hi, Darko D13.
We have more people tuning in to hang out with us. So then you get into the pitch, and we get into the audience for the comic, right? Mm-hmm. So who is this for? Who would like the Redemption series?
Pretty much anyone that's ever watched Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Supernatural, Silent Hill, Resident Evil, or played any of the games. They like horror, adventure, monsters, all of that.
And it says it's about the amazing horror aspects of monsters, demons, ghosts, and other things that go bump in the night. So are you trying to seize upon classic monster stories here? Are you trying to do Monster of the Week style thing with Buffy? You mentioned mermen earlier that are zombies. So there are mermen in this world too that get zombified?
This is the plushie for the zombie merman. So this is the zombie merman.
It looks like Cthulhu.
I was gonna say, it looks like Cthulhu.
Yeah, and then we have the skeleton birds that are in issue 3. So we have those.
They're like plague monsters.
Yeah, plague doctors.
That's what I meant.
So it's pretty much it's monsters from mythology. It's monsters that we added our own thing to. So the vampires are a subspecies of vampires called clotters. So I never liked it that vampires got cut and bled when they have no heartbeat. So ours, the heartbeat every 6 hours, just enough to keep off rigor mortis. It makes them stronger because they have this clotted blood. If you cut them, they have disgusting clotted blood. Decapitation and fire is the only way to kill them. But their biggest thing is they have a hive mind, where if they taste your blood, they can track you down like a homing beacon. And if you kill someone in the family, they will hunt you down and not stop until you're dead. And that's kind of what they're dealing with. They accidentally kill one, and now they have to go hunt all of them down.
And so one of the other draws, other than the exotic locations where they're going to have to go on their adventures, the zombie infested cities, monster roaming islands, and hell, the other draw is the characters themselves. And that's, the element of co-writing that you and Jess are doing, bring together these characters to show the bonds that they have, the love. There's betrayal as well as sacrifice of the highest degree. Friends can be enemies, and people thought as enemies can become allies. So there's a lot of, it sounds like, character exploration and development here. The journey that these two go through, they start off as soulmates, kind of, fated to be together, but also from opposite sides of the spectrum in the angel and demon war, learning how they fit in to this complex conflict that has been going on for millennia, going back, very, very far in time, and they always forget. They lose their memory when they're reincarnated and reborn. So this new adventure is about them learning their place in all of this. But if they keep dying and coming back and reforging this relationship because they're destined to be together, what's the stakes if they've died before?
So,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So for this story, it's a little bit different, which you don't find out till later, but I'll tell you anyway. Because the angelic weapon used to be inside her, and Camiel pulled it out. So it's a little bit different this time around. But not only that, the way to activate the weapon is to use her soul up. So if they use the weapon or the ritual to activate the weapon, she will die and her soul will disappear. So Draven cannot get with her again in any life or the afterlife.
But they don't know that yet because they still are trying to figure out their,
Yeah,
place in all of this.
they learn it in I think the next issue, or issue 6 or 7. Yeah.
That's pretty early for something that's got 5 books, right? And
Yep.
each book has so they're going to know from pretty early on how this weapon works and why people want it, and there's going to be like a lengthy series of adventures.
They won't know necessarily how it works or what it does. They just know that if it happens, she loses her soul and they're separated forever.
So this is something that I see a lot. The characters have a life of their own, and we are merely the vessel of which they tell their story.
Yeah.
What does the characters having the life of their own do for the plot that you're trying to put them into? Because one of the things that I've found is when I'm trying to write a story from a narrative perspective, a plot-focused story, when characters get too much free will, they decide to not do what I want them to. So they go off book, they just decide to not go where I want them. What is it like having characters who have a life of their own, and how is it how do you portray them? How do you act as the vessel through which they tell their story?
So I've actually argued with my character during writing, and I can only remember one major instance that I really thought that it was wrong. They're on the island, and there was something that was happening in this room, and I kept saying, this is not going in any direction that makes any sense. And the character in my head, or I was arguing with myself, I don't know, was arguing with me and saying, just wait, it gets better, it makes sense, just trust me. And I was like, no, I got to start over again. This is not going anywhere. And then I followed through with it, and it actually was quite brilliant. So whether I had it in the back of my mind or what, but either way, I fought against what I was writing, and it wound up to be a very cool scene. So they have their own actions, and they usually know it better than me. So I let them, play the course and
Make
figure
the
out where to go
decisions.
next. Yeah.
So then we get to talk about the stretch goals. Let's add the campaign page back to this and we'll look at the stretch goals. Scroll on down.
The nice thing about the goals is we've already passed 4 of them. And so if you were to do a $5 PDF for issue 1 or issue 4, then you get the 16 PDF issue number 1s for free included. And they're all amazing in themselves, and they're all worth more than $5 as it is.
Right.
So
Let's see.
you
We
get those-
got Water Wars here. We've got PTSD. We've got Pale Rider. We've got Demon Hunter Raven. We've got Night
Wolf, which is
Yeah, Nick was
amazing.
here before, right? So some of these seem or like are familiar. When you put together a pack of PDFs like this, how do you decide what to include?
People just donated them to me. These are all ones that
That's
I
cool.
backed. We all support each other. They have mine that they use. So it's kind of like we just work together. And I like to add, I don't like to take any of them away for the new people. So like the last campaign, I had 8. Now I have 16. I'm probably going to have an extra 4, 5, 6, but I'm still going to offer the 16. So when new people come in, they still will get those 16 because it's both great for my friends to get out there, get their story out there, but also for the new people, they get to read the amazing story that they wrote.
So then we get the Anubis fight bookmark.
Yeah, this is the glossy bookmark of the panel that's the banner that's behind me. That's from my interior artist.
Right. And then you get the next one, which is a PDF of issue 1, the prequel.
So this will eventually be redone by my artist. This was done by an artist that was good, but it was before I found my current artist. So it tells you how they first met in this life and what happens that day and stuff. So it's one of like 5 issues of that prequel. But yeah, it'll
PDF pack.
Yeah, crack pack, PDF pack. And then we get at 3,000, which is also unlocked. The 4th stretch goal is a Anubis black and white glossy trading card of the variant cover, which is a really cool cover.
It is. Yeah.
And we're working on the 5th stretch goal, which is everyone getting a randomly selected foil or holochrome trading card of variant cover from Ian Chase Nichols. So why random?
Because I have both sets. Pretty much what happened is we ordered a bunch of the foil ones, and then when we went to go order more foil ones, the new version of them did not come out as well, and they had to be replaced, so they replaced it with the holochrome. And they do look similar, but and they look similar. I like them both. They have like a mirror rainbow tint to them, which I like.
Yeah, Darko's right. The PDF swap is a pretty intelligent thing for indie creators to do. I agree.
It's a good way to get a stretch goal for
digital
backers.
Yeah, definitely a stretch goal for digital backers. For me, it's always been, these books have been out for a while, so odds are that we've encountered them either on the previous campaign or through Global Comics or anything. But I always wonder what it must be, what kind of crazy value it must be like for people who have never encountered these books before to get 12 of them as just stretch goals, that's fantastic.
That is a very cool thing.
Then I guess the last 2 things to talk about are we covered the add-ons, right? We covered
pretty much anything that's a reward is an add-on.
Right. Then we I guess we didn't talk about the hat. It's a hat with the logo on it. The same thing with the shirt.
There's some plushie.
The rat is very cute.
The
though.
rat is
oh my
very
goodness.
Apollo. That's Apollo. He's in the spinoff, and all the plushies have a suede card, which is a really cool card. So I had to add those in there.
So we mentioned some of your team earlier, Jess being your co-creator and writing partner, but you also did work with a script consultant, Lori Calcaterra, who is the author of Path of the Pale Rider. And then, of course, you mentioned your editor, John, who is your brother. What did you do working with Lori? How did you two meet? What insight did she offer?
Those are the lyrics that you're looking at. So I actually met Lori on Twitter, and when I first started, when I had never done an interview and I had no idea what I was doing, and I found someone introduced Roz introduced us and said, "Oh, she's another female in horror. You'd like her," and like we hit it off instantaneous, and like she took me under her wing, and then like, yeah, she's like my mentor.
And what about Jonas DaCosta, the artist? How did you find him, and why decide to have him pencil, ink, color, and letter the project? That's a lot of responsibility for one person.
Yes, it is. So I spent months trying to find an artist after the last one failed, and I spent thousands of dollars, and I could not find one that I really liked. And I wound up posting on Reddit and Facebook that if anyone wants to read my story and do a page for it, then you would have the chance to work on a 40 issue, series. So I had 5 people doing a free page for me. When this artist came and said, "Are you taking any submissions?" And I said, I have 5 people working on a page for me. If you want to submit one now for free, you can. Or if I don't choose any of those, I'll pay you for a page. So he wound up doing a free one, and I loved it instantaneous. And I paid the other ones to go away, and I hired him, and absolutely
Neff
loved
is a
it.
fan of that. I pay
Pay
you to go away.
And then you have this really awesome, heartfelt thank you to your husband, your mother, brother, to Brittany, the rest of your team, as well as a huge special thank you to the comic-related Madness group. That's right, it's the Madness brother. How did Pops, Rich, Doc, Max, Lori, Paul, and Michael help make this thing a reality?
So when I first went on the Madness channel, Lori has a show on there, and she brought me on. And I think my last campaign had, or my first campaign had 2 days left, and Pops is like, "What am I supposed to do with 2 days?" Like, he was so upset. He wanted to help. He's big, supportive, and he absolutely loves to help, especially new people, but anyone that works in the indie industry. So he was all upset that he only had 2 days, and he went at it, and he was campaigning and everything. And now since then, I've been on the show probably more than once a week. All of them are super supportive. When I have a launch, they're all there on the show to support me. We actually funded in 6 hours this time, and the first stretch goal was passed in the first 24 hours. So they're the most supportive group you'll ever find, and I owe Pops and Lori and all of them, just because I really don't think I'd be here if I never met Lori. I probably would not be this far into the journey, at least, because they're the ones that helped me.
Mo Big says, "Madness, brother, it's on like crom." Indeed.
Yes.
So I hear exposure is a must in crowdfunding. How did Drake Enterprises marketing help? They're like a Facebook group that promotes for creators, I guess. When I was looking you up, I found like a bunch of your stuff under their Facebook. Did you not like? Did they just they just pick up the campaign and start doing it themselves?
I didn't hire anyone that I know of. Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
Hey,
unless
we
I
got
know them
Eric
under a
DeGuapo.
different name, but yeah, I don't know.
So what's the biggest hurdle that you've had to overcome crowdfunding?
Just to get people to get eyes on it. I mean, I have a lot of faith in the story. I love the story, and I know it sounds chaotic, but it all has a direction. It all has balance to it. It's got a lot of action. It's got a lot of character development. But people have to see it, and I hate Comic Cons. I don't like them.
Why not?
They're loud. I usually comic book people aren't in like, they're not necessarily into horror, so I have to call them over, and it's not something that I don't like to bother people. I just don't like it, so I didn't like it. I'm trying horror cons. I have 3 set up, so I'm hoping that would be a little bit better, because horror comic people won't necessarily read a horror comic just because they read comics, but a horror person would most likely read a horror comic even if they don't read comics. So I think I would be better off, around people in my genre. But I'll see. I've never even been to a horror con.
Well, that makes sense. No,
I'd
that's a good
never
way of
even
thinking
been
about
to
it.
one, so I'm excited to see. And my mentor is at the first one I'm going to be, James O'Barr. He did The Crow, and that was my favorite graphic novel of all time. So
Oh, did you learn from him? He's your mentor?
I
Or is he like your
used to,
inspiration?
yeah, I used to sketch from him from The Crow. When I was doing the script, the first thing I pulled out just to have it next to me for support was the graphic novel. So yeah, I absolutely love The Crow.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Crow's great. The nod to the name Draven,
Yeah, so-
you can kind of
Yep.
tell.
Yep.
Yep. So, do you have any words of wisdom for new creators who want to start making comics, seeing as this is your like fourth issue?
Yeah. Definitely get somebody that you trust because I was too trustworthy and I got screwed over, but I trust my new artist completely. If possible, which is not easy, find somebody that is as invested in the story as you, which I got so lucky that I am. He went away for a month and 2 weeks in, he's like, I missed the story. I can't wait to get back to drawing it. And you just can't buy that kind of loyalty.
Yeah.
That's true.
So I'm very lucky that he's into the story as much as he is. He wants to stay around for the whole. I mean, he wants to do all 3 series if he can. I mean, he just wants to be there. So I would say number one, don't get into it for money because I'm definitely not into it for the money. I don't. I mean, profit's great, but it's really just to pay my artist. I just need enough to pay him so I can keep making them. And if I make more, he makes more. Um, so don't do it for the money. Do it because you have a passion for the story. And definitely get into the community of other indie creators and talk with them, work with them, support them, and they will support you back. So I definitely say that the community is the number one way to get that support you need. That and do tons and tons of podcasts because podcasts are a great way to be seen, and all that stuff. And it's definitely the reason why I got seen. I got as many backers as I did.
Yep. I mean, that's great becoming integrated part of the indie comic book network and community, and being on the madness. It's important for you to get to know the people that you're going to be, I guess, in the industry with, if we can call indie comics an industry. You know what I mean, right? Anyway, that's going to be it for us tonight, guys. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing the campaign with us. We're really glad to have had you, Carissa. We will be back in the studio next week, I think, if we have anyone scheduled. I'm not sure.
I just don't know who it is or
Right.
when it is.
It's been
a
a
mystery. We'll find out.
It's been a long week, guys.
It has.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much for tuning in. We really appreciate the like, and if you're not subscribed, please do. And click the bell for notifications so you know when we go live next.
And tune into the frequency.
See you next time.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.